New area, same me, Chatty work with me. I just set a timer. It's on the computer because I don't know where my little old school timer is. So we're gonna do a Chatty work with me. I'm gonna be steaming because I have lots of stuff to list, and I just feel like if I get a whole bunch of stuff steamed that maybe I'll list some stuff. I also have this ball, and this is in case I want to take a seat because steaming can be boring. Okay, so today's topic is why am I, according to some people, so negative about reselling platforms, around anything. So I thought I'd talk about that because it's something that in my 8 years on YouTube, I have gotten some similar comments over the years, and this one has always been one of the more fascinating ones. Ooh, this might be too low, but at the same time, I'm getting down here with this dress, so this only makes the most sense. Whatever. Also, the house is under construction, so if you're wondering about some two-toned paint back here with a missing board or whatever, it's, life is fun. I'm sure I'll give you a life update at the end of this video, but for now, let's talk about negativity. So I've said this over the years. I've said this in the beginning of this channel. I've said it throughout the years, periodically. I created this channel because when I started reselling and I was watching some people on YouTube, specifically Poshmark sellers, and I started getting going with reselling myself, I started realizing that there was, with some people on YouTube, a false representation of what it was really like. And so I decided to create a channel to share my experience, keep things as real as possible, share the good, share the bad, and hopefully be consistent about not trying to contribute to creating some false sense of reselling is super easy, anyone can do it, you can make bundles of money and it's just so easy, designers falling out of the sky left and right at thrift stores, sales are just booming, platforms are the best things ever, they love us as sellers. I did not want to contribute to that space because I felt duped. And it didn't take me long reselling to feel like the image of reselling is a little skewed online. And just a quick pause for the sponsor of today's video, which is Factor. You guys have heard me talk about them before. I love them. I'm going to tell you all about them in case you haven't heard me talk about them. But while I do that, I'm actually going to warm up my lunch. Today's lunch is going to be the ginger teriyaki salmon. This has some rice, green beans. There's also some extra sauce on the side, which I always love because I'm a saucy girl. So let's get this going so I can eat.
You all know I love Factor meals and I've been ordering them for a couple of years and I have no plans to stop. Recently, I've actually been eating a little bit more of the Factor meals because of a kitchen remodel that we've been going through. If you've ever gone through a kitchen remodel and you haven't had an ability to make food, foods like Factor meals can really make things so much easier so that you can enjoy high quality food and no cooking is required. We also have plans to have these during postpartum, which is coming soon. So I'm really happy that they have these flexible plans so I can adjust the amount of meals I get each week. I also love the fact that these can be quickly warmed up on busy days and that they're also fresh and never frozen. So they just taste so much better. Robert's also been taking them to work and he just feels like they're really satisfying on busy work days. Even though we have a kitchen again, I'm still loving these meals because they are delivered right to my door and I can skip the meal planning and prep work that I really don't have time for right now. I can also add extras to my order, like my favorite juices that I ordered this week as well. When you're ready to try it, you can head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50COMMONTAGS to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50COMMONTAGS at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
I'm going to finish up my lunch. This is delicious. This is definitely in my top 5 favorite Factor meals. So highly recommend this specific meal if you can get it. But big thank you to Factor for sponsoring another video. Let's get back to the chatty work with me. While there are huge pros to reselling, and while I continue to do it even after 8 years, even now more as, or even now and for a long time, I've been just part-time as a reseller. At one point, I thought I was going to do this full-time. I thought it was going to be my main source of income, along with some income from YouTube. And I haven't given up on the benefits of reselling and the joy certain aspects of reselling brings to me and my life. But I certainly over the years have wanted to be honest and transparent so that if anyone watches me, they don't sit there and ever think like, wow, you make this look so easy and it's so much harder for me. And wow, you only have all these amazing sales that are over $100. And wow, your thrift stores have like all this amazing epic stuff and I go and have bad days and I don't understand why you don't have bad days. I want to share the bad days. I want to share the fails that I make. I want to share the mistakes of me shipping or me buying some brands that maybe I shouldn't have bought. I want to share that so that it's an honest representation of my experience as a reseller. Now, there may be, in fact, some resellers online who only portray good because they only have good things happen to them as resellers. I cannot speak on behalf of other resellers online. I can say I have over the years gotten to know some resellers online, and I can say with true honesty that I think, as with most social media content, the image portrayed is not always the most accurate for most people. And it is a lot easier, I think, as a boost of confidence if you're online, as a reseller online sharing your journey. It's a lot easier to share the good and share the highlights reel because you constantly get praise and amazement and applause and and followers and subscribers, which leads to, if you're making money doing content, more money. And, unfortunately, the pressure to make content that's always good is also easy to manipulate. And I'm not saying this is everyone. I'm not saying this is anyone specific. I'm saying I know for a fact in my own experience and my own conversations that what you see on social media in the reselling space is not always 100% true. And my problem with that as a reseller, both as a reseller who just has consumed a lot of reselling content, but also as a reseller that makes content, I never want anyone to suspect that I'm contributing to a false narrative, because I think my biggest issue is that people jump into reselling. They spend a lot of time building an inventory, potentially. They spend money building that inventory. And this I just don't think is going to get like perfectly. I used to like try and steam the heck out of things, but nowadays it's like if I can get a decent first shot, I'm happy. I just don't want to contribute to someone who jumps into reselling, think it's going to be this amazing thing, and then they realize it is not what was sold to them. I don't want to be a part of that. I think it's easy to see the good and maybe ignore some of the bad, or just follow people who show the good. And it's honestly, there's so many variables that go into being a successful reseller, and also success is measured differently from person to person. I've said this over the years that you might be a reseller that is just wanting to save a little money. Like maybe you're a mom at home and you just want to save a little money, make a little money for your family vacation each year. And so you're okay making a profit of $500 a month, and that is successful to you. And that is success because that's what's successful to you. But then you go online and you see someone going, if you aren't making at least $2,000 a month as a reseller, you're failing. Or you see someone and they're like, I'm making $10,000 a month as a reseller and I'm only working part-time. And it can really mess with you because there's so many variables that need to be considered to compare yourself to other resellers. And I'm heated about this and I'm passionate about this, and I've been wanting to talk about this because when people make statements towards me of, I'm negative because I call out platforms. I try to be honest and be transparent and share the bad along with some of the good and the successes that I've had. That is not what everyone wants. And I'm okay with that. There's a lot of resellers that I don't want to watch. And I for sure know that there's a lot of people that I'm not their cup of tea. That's the great thing about being able to go online and find your people. Just because one person isn't your cup of tea doesn't mean they're not the cup of tea for someone else. And I make content in a way that I want to consume content. And a lot of the people that I have enjoyed watching over the years are similar to me. Not all of them, but most of them are similar. They are honest and transparent about the good and the bad. They aren't yay eBay or yay Poshmark and never call them out for anything. They aren't taking money if they're a big enough channel and making money in sponsorships. They're not taking money from sponsored companies that are not honest to what they actually believe. There's so many things that I can, say about like the content creation of things, but the reselling space for me is there's so many people that have messaged me over the years and said, I want to get rid of my inventory. I've tried this for a year. I've tried this for 2 years. I've tried this for 5 years and I'm tired and I am done and I just want to get rid of all my stuff and I want my life back. I don't want the chaos in my house. I don't want to take any more photos. I don't want to ship anymore. And it's okay if you say that. It's okay to admit if reselling isn't what you thought it was going to be. It's also okay to get burned out and to just not enjoy certain things as much anymore. And I remember there was this one time, I don't know what video, it was probably a Chatty work with me because they always get me in trouble because I'm honest, I'm not going to candy coat. I'm just not going to candy coat. So, anyways, there was a comment one time and I was, saying how reselling has changed for me. And, I don't know if reselling is worth it for me anymore. And again, it was a topic. These videos are just like, how can I find a topic of something I can talk about for 45 minutes? And, there's like little bits here and there in reselling that changes. And like, I could probably talk about it for 2 minutes, but it's usually the heated topics that I can really go off on. But anyways, this person, I was saying that I was burnt out and that I was just tired of the trips down to LA and I was tired of finding the motivation to come in here and steam. Is this not getting a wrinkle out? I'm going to just throw this one in the dryer. Because you can only try and steam for so long and then you just give up. So this person ended up leaving a comment and I'm guessing because that video did fairly well, it maybe got to someone who doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know my background, doesn't know how long I've been reselling, doesn't know what I've done before reselling. But as far as being like a pretty disciplined person, that's never been something I've struggled with. Waking up, having a plan, getting stuff done, being self-employed for 8 years and paying all my bills as a self-employed person up until just in the last 6 months, I now live with someone, but being a homeowner and doing this on my own and all the struggles that come along with that, I get stuff done. I don't struggle in the self-discipline department, but this person was indicating like, maybe you would be better with a job where you just follow a manager's direction and orders because you clearly don't know how to manage your time and manage your day. And you shouldn't be self-employed because you're just not good at it. And I'm sitting there going, thanks, pal. Thanks, pal. Because also before being self-employed, I was managing at one point over 50 employees and some managers that also helped with that, and overseeing them. But like, it's never been hard for me to get passionate about something and get excited about it and wake up and get stuff done. But the moment I start losing interest in something or I start getting frustrated and I start wanting to change course is when it gets harder. And that doesn't make me not capable. It doesn't make me bad, just like it doesn't make you, if you're on the struggle bus with reselling, bad. It is a hard job. And some people online, and I've never wanted to be this person, paint it out to be so damn easy. And for most people, if you live in a rural area or an area that doesn't have a lot of high fashion designer stuff, like I do, you either have to drive very far for thrift stores, you have to or you stay in your area and you're finding mostly bread and butter. The steamer has never really bounced back when I mussed it up. So sometimes I just have to put it down and give it a chance. Why did I pick all of this stuff that like doesn't want to steam? Like the most wrinkled stuff. Let me put that on this video so that you guys can be bored with me steaming the exact same thing the whole time. Apologies. This is great planning. I have so many items that I can steam up real quick. Moving on. So I think, one, it's okay if someone doesn't like me or doesn't like my content and doesn't like this channel. This isn't for everyone. And the comments don't even bother me. Like you aren't in this space for this long without having your fair share of people criticize things that you say, things that you do, the way you say them, the way you do them, all, et cetera, et cetera. However, I make this content because there are people that can connect with me and there are people that feel the same way I do. And those people deserve to have someone in the reselling space to change over the years. At one point in my heyday, I was only doing reselling in YouTube. And so I was more or less considered a full-time reseller. It has been many years since I did that. It's been a long time since I've had that pressure and that ambition of making reselling, my jam. But even today, making content, I'm juggling a lot, both personally and professionally. I think some of my professional changes and things that can kind of make reselling still work for me, but allow me to not be so burnt out with reselling, specifically real estate, was something that I did to hopefully help me stay a reseller and stay with the enjoyment of reselling without the pressure of being burnt out, finding stuff, slow sales, platforms doing nonsense things that I'm not down for. I mean, I really honestly, and maybe I'll do this in another video, talk about why I don't think reselling is ever going to be the same for me again after live selling. And I know I've talked about live selling before. I have not once done a live sale on Poshmark. It's called Lives, right? Poshmark Live, Poshmark something. It's been so long, whatever. I have not done one. And I stated from the beginning, and I remember some people going, oh, you'll get into it. And at the time, Poshmark and other companies were paying, like Whatnot was the other one. Whatnot was paying a whole bunch of content creators to make these lives. And I turned them down because I was like, this is not my passion. This is not what I want in reselling. And I've stuck to that. And I feel like that was a huge shift in reselling for me because I feel like a big subset of resellers were going this live direction. And then me and some were like, no, thanks. We're not really down with that. We're not really interested in that. And I feel like it divided reselling, the reselling space. The content I was watching, I no longer wanted to watch if they were live sellers because I wasn't interested in it. And I felt like I was disconnected. And if you're into live selling, I've said this before, I'm stoked if you can make money on it and you enjoy it. It's not something that I was ever into, and I'm still not into, and I probably never will be. And it's okay. Like there's space for all of us. You could still be a reseller and not do live sales. But I do think that was a big turning point where looking back, am like, I feel like I'm no longer part of the reselling community because I don't do this one thing that it seems like that's the direction of so much reselling these days. And which is disheartening because, the reasons I don't want to go that direction or haven't gone that direction is, because many different things. But the main one is I don't want to shop that way, so I don't want to sell that way. I don't want any, we already have enough impulses right now in the world of online anything. And going into stores, all those impulse buys, we already have enough of that. I don't want to contribute to more of the impulse buys and more of the, and yes, we can all make the argument that, well, it's pre-owned items. I've got to grab some stuff back here. It's pre-owned items. So we're doing good. We're keeping things out of the landfill. Yeah, but if you're shipping stuff across country to people who don't really need that item, but they just got like amped up in a a live auction type of situation, is that really doing anything good for the environment? If they really didn't need it, if they wouldn't have bought it without just kind of that like impulse feeling. And I've had many people over the last couple years comment on their experiences with live selling, that they bought a lot because they thought it was going to be inventory, and then they never listed it, and they, you know, and it can be great. I have heard some resellers go like, this is how I get my inventory, and it's fantastic, and they've gotten great deals. So like, it's not all one-sided. But, you know, just even talking like this is very much me. I feel like that's the other thing with keeping things real and sharing the good and the bad, is that I don't want someone to ever meet me in real life and think that I'm different offline than I am online. So I'm not just going to put on my happy face all the time and just share all the good and, oh my gosh, everything's so great. And because then you would meet me and you'd be like, wait, this is like a different girl. And it's not because I'm a negative person. It's because I have balance. I'm a normal person, and I want to portray myself as authentically as I can online. And that is going to be both the good and the bad. And you know, I mean, it's funny because I was just talking to one of my realtor friends, one of my realtor friends. She's a realtor too. And she found my new YouTube channel, which is on the mom stuff. If you haven't watched me in a while, I'm very pregnant at this moment in time. And so I started another channel to share my journey becoming a mom a little later in life. Midlife, Momlife. It'll be linked down below. Anyways, she follows my real estate YouTube channel and Instagram account, but she stumbled across my new one. And she's like, I've been loving your content. Like, I know you personally. She knows me in real life. Like, we've gone out for drinks pre-pregnancy. We've talked in the office a lot, you know, and she knows me off camera. And she's like, it's so fun to see you be like warm and fuzzy online and show this different side of you, because in real estate, you're kind of like you know, like you're not like super business, but you're like kind of hard with your conversation. Like, you're talking about escrows and you're talking about paperwork, and you're talking about these lenders, and you're talking about all this stuff. And it can be very like, I don't know, it brings out a personality. Whereas then she sees my new channel content and it's a little bit more behind the scenes, a little bit more life at home. And she's like, it's this softer side of you, and it's so great to see. And I'm like, I would rather have that. Like, she it's not that she says I'm different, but I think that, like, especially on reselling channels, if I just show going into thrift stores and just show the times and the trips that I'm finding epic stuff, you'll never see the times that I'm disappointed and I'm sad that I just spent 5 hours driving in one day and I only picked up 2 things. And I wasted gas money, and I'm not going to make any money that day. I'm not going to make my gas money back. I wasted a whole bunch of time. You're never going to see that side of me if I don't share it at times. And I do feel, come on, you can do it. Get some pep back in your step. It needs a little, I don't know if it's steaming, if you can see the steam now. It just needs to be hit a few times. Oh gosh, that sounds bad. If you don't know, I broke my steamer. I'm sure I shared this on Instagram, maybe on YouTube at some point, but I broke my steamer because I left it running for like 3 days and it dried out and it has never recovered. So I highly recommend these steamers. I've had this for 8 years, and the only reason I have any issues with it is because I messed up, but I'm human. And that's why I share this stuff, because if you also mess up and break your steamer, it happens to some of us, and we're not terrible people. But anyways, I think the point is like, when someone wants to express that maybe I'm negative because I say I'm critical of Poshmark, I'm critical of eBay, I'm critical of reselling content, I'm critical of the job being not as easy as some people portray. If that doesn't inspire you and that's not relatable, there's so many other reselling channels now that have so many people that just share the good. There's just so many. That's the majority. And So you can go over to those. You can go find those. They're not hard to find. And it's okay. Like it's not offensive to me if someone says like, you're not my vibe, because more than likely, if I'm not your vibe, if you made content and you put yourself on the internet, you would probably not be my vibe either. We probably are just different. And that's like, I don't understand why that's a bad thing. I don't understand why it even needs to be vocalized, you know? Like, I wouldn't go up to someone in real life and say, you know, wow, your outfit is not something I would wear. Like, I don't think that we could be friends because we don't have the same look and the same style. And, you know, I don't like your style, and I don't think we could get, like, I would never say that to someone in real life, you know? So like, why would I? And I would also like, I mean, there's plenty of times in real estate, I'm just like, ooh, I'm not vibing with this person and I have to work with them on this escrow. Like maybe it's a lender or, you know, something like that. I don't have a choice. That's part of work, is you sometimes have to work with people that aren't your vibe. But I'm not going up to them and saying, you know, hey, Mr. Lender, this is only top of mind because I had a really tough lender recently that we were really not a good mix, but we were both representing the same person, and you just have to get over it and you have to find a way to work with them and be professional and all that. But internally, I was like, we would never cross paths in any other situation because we're just so different. But that doesn't mean he's bad, and that doesn't mean I'm bad. It just means that our vibe, our style, our way of communicating is different. And so it's the same with YouTube. And I don't understand why someone wouldn't want the good and the bad of reselling. I don't understand why someone would only want, you know, to watch someone who may have some false representation of the brands they're finding and where they're finding them. Like, there's been people that have left me comments over the years. I'm just going to say, I'm like so tempted to keep this one because green. I just got this at a thrift for me. I'm just going to try it on because I'm wanting cozy right now. There's snow on the ground outside right now, and I'm wanting cozy. Oh yeah, this is so cute and cozy. It's some Anthro brand that I just thrifted recently. Why am I even gonna, what in the world? There's a ball in here. What in the world? I should just keep this, shouldn't I? It's probably only gonna sell for like $30, but I love the color. I love the coziness. I've just been wearing a lot of this stuff recently, and I get a free ball that I'm just made in the trash. That was a really good shot. I'm just going to keep this on because the point of this is to get things steamed to list, not to take things out of here to put in my own closet. But at the same time, don't we love this sweater? Anyways, I wanted to try selling the brand, but maybe that's going to have to wait. So back to, finding someone that's your cup of tea. I think it's important to find, like, I can't imagine going back in life, and I'm just going to keep my Goodwill tag on here. This cost $6.99 with a 25% off coupon in case anyone's curious. And if I got a few wears out of it, then I feel like it's worth the $6. I feel like when you're picking reselling content creators, you may not know if they're authentic. You may not know if they're lying about things. You may not know if they're withholding the bad things that could happen. And some of them might share some of the bad, but they're maybe being dishonest about other things. You'll really probably never know. I would say find people who you would want to go and have lunch with, you know, and, you know, for me, I don't want to go to lunch with someone who is super bubbly and doesn't have any criticism of the world or any in-depth conversation. That's not my vibe. Like, I want to go to lunch with someone who has, you know, a variety of things to talk about. And it could be about the weather, but it could also be about a book that they read, or it could be about, where they went to college and, their experience with their degree and why they picked their degree. It could be them talking about their family and, oh, this frustrating thing that happened at the recent family thing. And, oh, but then they tell me about their new niece and how amazing it is to have a new niece in the family and a baby in the family. And I like that variety, that spice of life. I do not want to go to lunch with someone who is just, oh my gosh, look at all this amazing stuff I bought this week. And oh my gosh, look at how amazing my husband is and what he did for me this week. And oh my gosh, I think of all, if they're, let's say they're not a reseller, my job is so incredible. I just got this raise and my boss loves me and I can't do anything wrong. I just, even saying this makes me want to vomit. I can't be around toxic positivity. And that is what I am not. And that is never going to be what I portray here. And that doesn't mean that my style is going to be inspiring for you, for your vibe. Maybe you like that super positive person and maybe that's the person that gets you out of bed, gets you excited to be reselling at the end of the day. But I feel like my people find me and I feel like I find my people online, and there's someone for everyone out there. And if people think that me sharing the good and the bad, or me criticizing specifically Poshmark over the years, at times is negative, that makes me a negative person, well then I wonder what it would be like if you actually put in the person who said nothing positive, who only bashed things and only had negative things to say and didn't share anything positive and talked crap about other people and, tried to bring other people down just to kind of make them feel better. I wonder if that is if that is a different kind of negative person than me, or if you're just putting all of us in the same camp, because I don't know. But regardless, it's been something over the years that I have had in the comment section at times. And every time it's just always fascinated of, A, thanks for sharing. I hope you find someone that you enjoy watching. B, I'm sorry that you don't want someone to share the good and the bad. But, and C, it's not going to change who I am, because I'm going to continue being me, and I'm going to continue being honest to myself and being honest to the content I'm making, because that is what I want from people I watch, is for them to be themselves, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think it's been one of those things of the Chatty Work With Me's. It's almost like a therapy session. So thank you all. If you've ever watched any of my Chatty Work With Me's, thank you for, being my online ear, I guess, because it has been an opportunity for me to kind of talk through things in a way that lets me get it off my chest. And it could be as simple as I don't know what topics I've done as Chatty Work With Me, but I've done a variety. And I think it's just kind of sometimes just nice to just, are we steamy again? Get some stuff done and have the motivation to stand here and steam. And that's great for me because, trying to find motivation every day, aren't we all? But also just getting some things off my chest and also give me the opportunity to explain some things, because, sometimes I'll hear I know I've done some videos about Poshmark changes over the years, and it's I'll hear all these people talk about their opinions on it, and I'm sitting here going, but who's saying the opposite? Who's talking about this? And then it gives me the chance to get something else out there. And again, maybe people don't agree, maybe, and that's okay. But at least it gives me the opportunity to have a different voice that maybe you're not going to get on every reselling channel. And these days, I think it's interesting because I have just wanted so desperately the last few years to continue being a reseller and find a good balance. Find a balance with the social media so that doesn't consume me. and doesn't make me turn into something where I'm being disingenuous about the content I create. Because there's a lot of pressure, especially if you're the YouTube channel you're watching gets any sort of paid sponsorships. If they're, a semi-larger channel, there's a lot of pressure. A lot of those videos, if they're getting paid by a company, not just like free product, but if they're actually getting paid, a lot of times there's views that are required, like a number of views that are required in a certain amount of time. And if those start going down, then you could potentially lose some of that money that you agreed with. And so then it kind of leads people to make content to get views that might not be super honest, because there's that pressure, because we're talking money and all of us are sitting here working hard as resellers because money's involved, right? Like whether you're part-time or whether you're full-time, you're doing this reselling and or YouTube or social media because money's involved. And some people, and I was one of them when I first started YouTube, you don't make a dime. You're doing it because you want to get out there, you want to be a different voice, you want to share your experience. And it's probably all much more genuine, but even those people are just trying to grow their channel because maybe, just maybe, they can become paid creators. So I guess the moral of the story is I feel like there's some people out there that vibe with my vibe, and I would probably vibe with their vibe in real life. Like if you vibe with me online, I probably would vibe with you offline. And that is enough for me to continue on being honest with who I am as a reseller, my goals as a reseller, my thoughts as a reseller, my experiences as a reseller, and also just sharing the up and down roller coaster of my reselling journey. Because these days, like, it's funny, this is probably more on the personal scope of things, but it's related, so I'll jump into it. It's funny because when I first started reselling, specifically Poshmark, there were a lot of, how are we doing on time? Just want to make sure I'm not going over. There were a lot of moms, and this was 8 years ago. At the time, I was not dating anyone. I was a new homeowner. I had zero interest in becoming a mom, and I would watch a lot of content, and it would be a lot of people that would be like combining being a stay-at-home mom and being able to contribute financially to your family by being a reseller as well. And also things like you can buy, things for your house and your kids at a much more affordable price, which I think is fantastic. But it was this whole side of reselling that I wasn't a part of. In fact, there was someone, and I don't know if they're still around, but there's been a number of channels and social media accounts where mom is in, like, I don't know if this is one of the names. I actually really don't know, but like Posh Mom or Posh Love Mom, or like things that are like Poshmark seller and mom. And there was this one time where someone asked me to be on their channel or something, and they had mom in their description. And I remember thinking to myself, like, but I've never connected with this side of Poshmark because I felt like I wasn't allowed because I wasn't a mom. And because that wasn't, like, I didn't have that common ground. And, it was just this weird dynamic. And I always thought to myself, like, man, reselling would be a pretty epic job if you're someone, either parent, a mom or a dad, who's the primary stay-at-home parent. That's a pretty awesome job where at least if you can get to the point where you can maybe take a kid to a thrift store, that will not be me here in a short while with like a brand new infant. But at some point, I'm excited to be able to go into thrift stores, do a little thrifting with a little one. I'm sure that will have some comedic aspects as well. And I'll learn a lot of what you guys go through if you've gone through it. But I've always thought, like, man, reselling is just such a fantastic, flexible job that would allow moms to make some money at home without having to deal with schedules, without having to deal with, bosses who are like, why did you have to call out sick? Like, it's a very flexible hustle, whether it's a side hustle or a full-time hustle. And it's funny now that I'm in this place where it's like, even though that was not my intention going into reselling. I didn't think the day would come where I would be part of the reselling mom world. That's really only been the last year that's even been a consideration. And in the last, I don't know what months I'm on right now, but it's really only been the last year that it's even been a possibility of me becoming a mom, where I thought I wanted it, and it's now becoming somewhat of a reality. And now, especially like Robert, who has a normal job and shows up and has, like benefits and a normal paycheck. And it's nice that I will be able to stay at home as the primary stay-at-home parent while still doing my self-employed thing, just maybe at a smaller scale. And I'm going to share that journey here, not the baby side of things, but just how that changes for me. Like I'm assuming that there will be a pause in thrifting for me. So I'm looking forward to getting some organization done. I'm looking forward to getting rid of some stale inventory. I'm looking forward to, planning different things I can try in reselling, that type of stuff. So it's funny to me that it's kind of come full circle. Like I'm now part of joining this group of resellers that I honestly never thought I was going to be a part of, but I thought made so much sense at the time. And it's nice. Like it's kind of like, it gives me such relief knowing that we don't need to worry about childcare right away, or if at all. And not everyone can say that when they're pregnant with their first kid and at any age. So I'm very thankful for so much of this community and being a part of this community. I'm also thankful and happy that there are people out there, not everyone, but there are people out there that like my honesty and don't see it as a bad thing or a negative thing, but see it as it's me being honest, because we need more of that in this space. And, I think there are some great resellers that really are just happy people, like genuinely, and they're just like different personalities than me. And maybe that's more your vibe. Like they still maybe share some not so great things, but maybe they do it in a little more chipper way. I just don't think that's like, I've learned you cannot try to be something you're not on social media because it's not real. And you also can't be bothered or be affected by people who maybe just tell you they don't like you, because that's just life. Like, don't we learn that at a very young age? Like, not everyone's going to like you at school. Not everyone's going to like you on the playground. And it's okay to go through life and just be like, I am who I am, and I'm not going to be liked by everyone. And that's okay. And being on like a reselling YouTube channel and having people, over the years through my journey comment about their thought and their take on me. It's kind of like that. It's like, well, you just have to constantly remind yourself, like, there's someone for everyone out there, and I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But all of this goes back to, why am I so negative? I don't really think I am. I think if I was really hard hit on the negativity, I wouldn't be sharing anything good. And I've shared a lot of good things. I've shared a lot of good sales. I've praised Poshmark at times. I've praised eBay at times. I've been grateful to both platforms for introducing me to this world. I've been grateful to the content creators in the reselling space, some of the early ones who introduced me to reselling, because I wouldn't have found it any other way. I've been so grateful for so many things, and I've expressed those over the years. But I've also mixed in some not so grateful moments, and it doesn't take away those grateful moments. It doesn't take away that positivity. It just, for me, is the balance of who I am, and it's the authentic side of me and my journey. But all right, I don't know if I even have my little timer. It went away. No, it's an ad pop-up. Oh my gosh. I'm like almost spot on time. So I am going to sit down and do a personal update here, which is what I always do on Chatty Work With Me. Is the first 45 minutes is the reselling topic, and the last 15 minutes is more of a personal update. So if you want to stick around and hear a little bit more about my personal life, then we'll jump into that. Okay, so personal life update. I just turned off the steamer and it's making some gurgling sounds, so hopefully that goes away. So personal life update. So I know not everyone watches every video of mine, so I will jump into, and I already mentioned this in the earlier part of the video, I am very pregnant. I am in my 3rd trimester. I am due in April. I'm not sure when this video is going up, but I am not going to share too much of the pregnancy stuff because I have a whole channel dedicated to it where I'm updating on not only my pregnancy, but sharing a little bit more behind the scenes of my move, not physically my move, but like where I live now, which is with my partner, Robert, some of the remodeling we're doing, some of the stuff that I do on the side when I'm not working. Right now, baby is very active because I just sat down. So anyways, I will not share too much outside of the fact that I do have a separate channel, separate Instagram account. It's called Midlife, Momlife. If you don't know that much about me, I'm 42 years old, having my first kid, which in the biological sense of having children is a little later in life to start a family. And so I created that channel because I was hopeful that maybe, just maybe, there would be people like me, maybe late 30s, early 40s, who were trying to decide if they wanted to start a family and wanted to find some content out there of people who had done it a little later in life. And so, you know, there's a lot of terrible odds when you start diving in. Like we all know someone who's like, oh, I had a sister's coworker and she had a kid at 45, and you know, oh, my grandma, she had her 5th kid at 43. And like, you always hear these stories, but when you actually look at the data, it's a little bit like bad news bears when you start dealing with, especially over 40, like conceiving and having healthy pregnancies. But it's also a lot of the content out there I was getting was a lot of pregnancy loss, a lot of people who were using IVF. There's nothing wrong with that, but I wanted to have some hope that maybe that wouldn't be a requirement for me. And so once I got far enough in the pregnancy and realized, okay, I think things are looking good, I want to share my experience because I've shared my reselling journey. And while there are moments of people may not like me, and that's totally okay, and there's going to be people that don't like my motherhood channel, which is totally okay. I've already gotten comments from some girls out there who are very related to me and are happy to find me and, you know, are in a similar boat. They don't know if they want kids, or they're pregnant with their first and they're later in their life and they're trying to navigate that change in identity. And so anyways, that is linked below. If you want to follow me there or see some of the videos I've posted there. It's been up for a couple months. But because I am fairly pregnant at this point, it's made juggling everything a lot more interesting. I just closed an escrow with real estate last Friday. And so almost a week ago, I'm supposed to close another one tomorrow. And then I still have 2 more that will hopefully be done before this kid comes out. One of them is a land sale, which is like not really my exciting, like I don't do a lot of land sales. The only reason I'm doing this one is because it's a past client of mine, who's bought a house with me. And so I'm happy to help them with anything, but I don't take on a lot of land clients because I'm not interested in it, in my area. So that one is kind of like it's a small payout. It's not a lot of work. I'm just waiting for some people to shuffle around paperwork, and a lot of my work has been done with that. The other one that will close later this month is actually ironically one of Robert's coworkers. And I only took that escrow or that new client when I did, because Robert was like, he's a really chill guy. And it has actually been a really good experience with them. They found a house very quickly. We got an escrow very quickly. They're very low maintenance. And so even though I was like not wanting to take on new clients at that point, in time, and I've been referring all my new leads to some other agents, I'm happy I took that one on because they've been great to work with, and it'll be nice. Because as a self-employed person, if you are a mom out there who does not have a normal part-time or full-time job, you may not have maternity leave if you've ever gone through that. So that's been something interesting to navigate. And I'll probably talk about that on the new channel at some point. I'm not going to do it right now, but maybe after birth, of just talking about like what I did, if anything, to try and deal with that, what Robert and I agreed to, because we're not married, we do not share finances at this point. You know, I'm sure we will share finances at some point. He's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're very committed to each other. But, and I know marriage is always a common question, like, oh, are you guys going to get married? My only thought with that was, I am not anti-marriage. I just don't, it's never been like a strong desire. And if we did get married, I would not want it to be just because we got pregnant. We intentionally got pregnant. We planned to get pregnant. And one of the stipulations of that we talked about beforehand was, if we get pregnant, I'm not going to do a shotgun wedding, or I want us to get married because we want to get married and we want to make that decision outside of a kid. Like not because we have a kid, if that makes sense. And everyone has the right to do whatever they want if they're in that situation. But that was, so right now we are not married. We do not share finances. But now that we live together and now that we're bringing a little one into the world together, we have to have a lot of financial conversations. And me not having maternity leave, meaning getting paid when I'm recovering, is a dynamic that we had to talk through. So I'm sure I'll talk about that at some point on that channel, but it is a nuance of being self-employed that is a downside, to be honest. And I mean, really, it's not that when you get maternity leave, you haven't technically paid for it. My little bouncy ball is rubbing up against the steamer, so it's making noises. It's not that people aren't paying for it directly. It's just they're paying for it, at least in California, over the course of their employment. They're contributing to the disability funds and all of that, or it's a perk from their company. So either way, I'm pregnant. That's the point. And I hope you'll check out the other channel if you're curious about that side of my life. And if you're not curious about that side of my life, totally fine as well. What other news? Real estate, I think I just updated you on that. I'm taking a break. I'm giving all my new leads to some of my realtor friends. If they work out and they close on a deal, they'll probably give me some sort of referral commission, like a referral fee. Because, if I pass on my leads, like they would have only gotten those through me, but they don't pay me unless they close on something. So happy to pass those on. And I will be back into real estate when I feel ready, but I'm not any strict guidelines or deadlines to do that, because real estate is, while flexible, there are moments that aren't flexible. And also the stress involved with real estate can be very high. And it'll just be nice to have a little bit of a break from that. And then another big change that has happened more recently has been my house going on Airbnb, which I've talked about on this channel, partly because a lot of people consider, I need to move around on this ball because my back, my back. A lot of people think of Airbnb as kind of a passive income, and a lot of resellers look at ways to make money. This is like, I think, our nature, and it's fun, right? I love watching content of different ways that people make money outside of just traditional jobs. So I've shared a little bit about the Airbnb here for two reasons. One, I filmed in that house for so long, and so many people knew how much I loved that house, and I've been raw and emotional about some of the changes, because to be a single female who left a big city and moved to a very small town, bought a house, was trying to live this dream that I honestly never thought I would live, which is like a little bit more of a slower paced life and quieter life, and be a homeowner and have a dog and have a tomato plant. And I mean, it sounds all silly, but honestly, like, it was a dream for a while. And to have made that come true on my own, a lot thanks to reselling and being self-employed, to have met someone who's great, and we're so excited to be together, and we're starting this new journey together, and I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I have any concern or regret or question about this change in life. At the same time, giving up something that I worked really hard for and that I was very proud of was hard. And so I kept that as an Airbnb for at least a period of time. And I'm going to be frank, like I don't have an Airbnb channel. So I do some updates on Airbnb on my new channel. And so I'm sure I will do some Airbnb updates there at some point. I think I did a quick Airbnb update on this channel of just some numbers of my first few months to talk through that. I will say, I don't think that this is something that I'm going to do in the long run. I'm hopeful that I can keep it going for a bit because it will be nice to have that extra space in case we have some friends and family that want to come see the baby in the first year, because we don't have any extra space. Like this room that I'm in right now is where the dogs sleep. They have their little sleeping quarters. I have my space for reselling. I have my desk in here. I'm trying to find a way to like make my Peloton stay in here. The house is under construction, so it's a bit chaotic just in general here. But at some point, it won't be two-tone walls. It will be like an office with a cute rug and white walls, and it will look a little more put together. But this will not be a guest room. And the other room, this is a 3-bedroom house. The other room is a soon-to-be baby room. And so I do have my stuff stored in a storage shed here, which Robert used to keep like lawn equipment in. He has a garage, so he still has that space for all of his, toys, and he does a lot. Like he's a very handy guy. He can work on his cars, his trucks, his dirt bikes, all of that stuff. So he still has the garage space for, storage and his own personal. So him moving stuff out of the shed was pretty easy for him to do and give me a space for my reselling inventory. But we don't have a guest room in here, and we're probably not going to. I mean, there's ways that I could probably put a bed in here, but then I don't want guests sleeping in the dog room because the dog room that's where they sleep and they need to be comfortable. But also I don't want anyone to overstay their welcome. It's I think one of the things about having a kid that I'm sure a lot of people identify with is just the pressure of, people wanting to visit a lot or overstay their welcome. And I feel like by having the Airbnb for a bit is a great way for us to have some space of if someone wants to come, they have a comfortable place to stay. And there's also a place for them to go so we can get a break. Specifically, I mean, fortunately, we don't have too much family too far away, but both of us have family that's 2 to 3 hours away. And it would be just nice for them to have a comfortable place to stay for a night if they want to come visit. But I still need to make money off of the Airbnb to pay the bills. So it's not going to be like a free for all for anyone and everyone to stay at. But I will say, I don't think, when you take my mortgage payment, the electrical bills, the gas bills, internet, water, like all of that stuff, utilities. And then you also take homeowners insurance, which escalates every year in California, especially if you're in a high fire risk area. And then you take the cost of, I'm now paying a housekeeper, which I'm happy to go back to some of the housekeeping myself when I can with the baby. But right now I've passed it off because it was just getting to be too much and too exhausting. But even though I charge a cleaning fee, that still is money that's going to someone else. And at the end of the day, there's still maintenance costs. There's still things that break. I've had to do a couple of things where people have broken and it's like, here's $400 to cover that. And here's, so it's not, for me, yes, equity or value of the home should go up. And if you keep paying your mortgage, like at some point, maybe it's paid off and then you've got this investment property. At the same time, even if the house was paid off, there would still be costs and things still wear and tear and break and all that stuff. And as a real estate agent, ironically, I'm not the one that's like most like have a huge real estate portfolio. It's a lot of work, and it's not a passion. Like property management is not a passion of mine, and probably will never be. So I don't know how long I will keep it, but for right now, it's a fun little journey, and hopefully I can keep it here for a bit. so that some family and friends can use it and that I can still be there at times. And so we'll see. And maybe the prices will go up and it will make more sense to keep it. We'll see. I'm not ruling anything out at this point, but that's my Airbnb update, my life update. The dogs are good. I know everyone asks about them. They're out there running in snow right now, getting muddy. I will be here, probably do a few more Chatty work with me's in the next few months because I won't be thrifting as much. So if you guys have any Chatty work with me topics that you want me to talk about, feel free to leave them below. And I appreciate everyone being here. It's meaningful, especially after all these years. And I'm glad when people like that people can find people online that they can connect with. So that's it. Be sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you again soon. Bye.